God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He is higher than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He is wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's higher than a skyscraper and deeper than a submarine. He is wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. 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 And He holds us in His hands.
Cause our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom.
Hello everyone, welcome to the mini messy church today. I'm actually in St Andrews in the church. I'm currently 8 feet up in the air on some scaffolding and it's a bit wobbly. So if it looks like there's an earthquake, it's just that I've moved a bit and everything wobbled. This is very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to what we're going to be getting up to over the next hour or so. We're going to have all sorts of things going on, and at some point we will be doing some cooking with Catherine, and I'm sure that she'll appear in a minute and I'll have a quick chat to her about what we're going to be getting up to and what she's going to be doing in her kitchen. I understand it's going to be, well, I better not tell you. I better let Catherine tell you what it is that she's going to be doing. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, a little bit scared being up this high on a wobbly platform, but it's all good. It means I get a lovely backdrop behind me.
Well, we said as soon as you got onto Messi, you'd be going up in the world. There you are.
Very good, very good. So, this week, have you been doing anything exciting or just eating all those flatbreads from last week?
Well, we did thoroughly enjoy the flatbreads. I have had a good week. I was lucky enough to be able to go and see my parents yesterday, so that was a very special day. And
Oh, yeah.
I went fishing with my father on the River Test, and we caught some wonderful trout. Rained quite a bit, but it was a very special day. So
Oh, that sounds lovely. Oh, I sort of wish that I could have been coming with you.
I'm going to get the recipes for what my dad's going to do with the trout. So,
Oh, yeah, recipes for trout. Oh, anyway, we're talking about things like that, and that's not what we're cooking today, is it? We're not doing trout.
No, we're not doing trout today. No, we this week are going to be cooking potato and cheese pie. And the reason for our potato and cheese pie will become a bit clearer as we get into our story. But I will go as far as to say that it's a thrifty recipe. So it's one that uses fairly inexpensive ingredients, and one that lots of people may have had at school, and it's very, very delicious and very comforting food. So that's what we're making today.
Right.
So I've actually, I nearly forgot, my most important co-cooks today are Violet and her baby brother, Ernest.
Oh, my goodness.
There they are. Hi, Violet, and hi, Ernest.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, he looks very excited already.
Today.
So, have you made a start on your potato and cheese pie?
Yes, they're in the saucepan now.
Fantastic. So I'll just run through for everyone what it is that we need to make our cheese and potato pie. And so we'll need some, guess what? Potatoes, 1 onion, and you'll need to peel the potatoes and cut them into small pieces and dice your onion finely. And I've already done that today because this recipe takes a little bit of time. So Violet, Ernest and I have just got a little bit ahead, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. So we've got potatoes and we've got onion, we've got a little bit of butter that we'll put in a bit, 225 grams of grated cheese, some milk, probably about 100 millilitres, 2 eggs, and some English mustard powder. But don't be frightened, it's not too hot, the amount that we put in the recipe, and a bit of salt and pepper. So, Violet, would you like to tell us how you got started?
So we chopped up the potatoes, and Ernest enjoyed putting them in the pan.
Brill.
And then we did the same for the onions, and so they're in the saucepan now. And then I've started to grate some cheese.
Brilliant. So what we've done is put our potato and our onion in with some water, and we boiled those until they're soft and ready to mash. And so what I'm going to do now is drain my cooked potatoes and my mash. So it looks a little bit soup-like at the moment. So I'm just going to go over here and drain those through a colander to get rid of the water that we boiled them in. And then I'm going to get the bit of water off those, drain them a little bit. And then I'm going to pop them back into the saucepan.
I'm draining them.
and I'm going to mash them. So let's get those back in the saucepan. Like that. With my spatula. So there we are, we've got our cooked onion and our cooked potato in a pan. And we're going to give those a really good mash now. Have you got a masher on hand, Violet?
Pardon?
Have you got a masher on hand?
Yep.
You're going to give a really, really good mash. This is going to be the main substance of our pie, so we want this to be nice and smooth and creamy. So we'll give that a really good mash. And we're going to carry on a little bit and show you what we're going to do with this today. It takes a little while in the oven. If you want to see our beautiful pie at the end, I'll show you what else we're going to do. So, show you what we've got left at the back. So now we're going to add a bit of pepper. I actually put a bit of salt in my potatoes when I boiled them. So if you didn't put any when you boiled them, put a little bit in now. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of English mustard powder. And what it does is just really sort of enhances the flavour of the cheese in our cheese and potato pie. So I'm going to sprinkle in just under 2 teaspoons, so it's not too fiery. Put that in. And then I'm going to get some butter, and I'm going to add really as much as you like. The butter is the taster it's going to be, but if you don't want to put all that fat in it, you don't have to. So what we'll do is put that much in at the minute, and we'll give it another good mash. How are you getting on, guys?
I'm just adding in the butter now.
Well done. I think I'm going to enter in my shopping cart. Like that. I can hear Ernest is clearly going to be a very keen cook. He's very excited about all this.
He loves cooking. He came in this morning and got his apron out the drawer and was trying to put it on.
You'll be cooking your dinner in no time. So, how do you mash them? I'm going to put a little bit of milk. I don't think mine's going to need all the milk I've got here. So I think it might end up a bit too goopy. So I've just put a bit of milk in.
Milk. Not milk.
So, do you like cheesy mash? Right.
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's good. Because this really is a bit like elaborate cheesy mash. And I've had a couple of people say to me it was one of their favourite meals when they were at school dinners as well. Now, what I've got here is the cheese. I'm going to put grated cheese in my mixture now. And I'm not going to put it all in because I want some to sprinkle over the top so we get a nice golden topping. So I'm going to take some back.
Do we need to add the egg, Catherine?
I think that would probably be a really good idea. And I nearly forgot them, so I'm glad I've got my co-cook there. I'm going to break the eggs in. Very rich without the eggs in, would it?
No.
Okay. I'm going to give those a bit of a beat up first. Oh, Ernest singing for us. And then we're going to add those into our mixture as well. Fantastic. Oh, it's looking quite gloopy at the moment. Looks like proper mud pie mix, mine. What's your
I'm cracking the egg now,
Right, well done.
and Ernest is eating the cheese.
Good. Got somebody here receiving cheese as well. Right, well I look as if I've got a right gloopy potato mix here now. So I think what this is going to need is putting into a dish and baking in the oven. So I've got here a baking dish and I've greased that with some butter around it. Hopefully our potato mixture doesn't stick too badly. And I'm going to pour in
Can you help me whisk?
my potato pie mix. Whoa, that is going to be delicious. Now, when I've done this, I'm going to sprinkle some cheese on the top so that we get a nice crusty, cheesy topping. And then I might slice some tomato slices on it as well, just as a bit of garnish, but that's entirely optional. You can do that if you want to, but if you don't like tomatoes, don't do it. So there we are. Put that in our dish. Ernest is sounding a bit concerned. What have we forgotten, Vi?
It's the cheese has been taken off him.
Oh no! You're going to put the rest of that cheese on the topping, and Ernest thought it was for him.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I think that's mashed enough now.
Well done. And I'm just sprinkling some cheese all over the top. This is quite a good recipe for Ernest because it's going to be nice and soft and easy to eat. Might get it all around the kitchen when he. There we go. So that's my cheese topping, and I'll put a few slices of tomato out as well. Violet, let's have a look at yours.
We are just spooning it in.
Well done. Fantastic. Right, I think what we will do now is go back and over to Mark, and he'll be able to introduce our story, and you'll understand the significance of cheese and potato pie this week. Back to you, Mark. See you shortly. Bye. Bye, Ernest. See you in a little while.
Well, I'm already starting to feel hungry, and you've only just started with the cooking. What a good way to use up half a tomato, says Paddy Willard. Yeah, it's a good way to use up half a tomato. It's that or a sandwich, I suppose. You could put it in just a sandwich. So that's going in the oven now, isn't it?
So yeah, what we're going to do is put this into the oven at about 180 degrees C for about 20 to 30 minutes till it's really nice and golden on the top. And that's really why today we've gone a little bit further ahead in our recipe at the beginning so that we've got time to let it cook while we listen to the story.
I really like cheese and potato pie, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this comes out, even if I don't get to eat any of it.
We're going to have to you cooking in your camper van one week, aren't we, Mark?
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to do that. I mean, the van's outside church. I wasn't allowed to drive it into the church.
Too good an opportunity to miss before the end of term, I think.
Definitely. Maybe next week.
We'll see you in a little while.
Okay, see you in a bit. So the other things that we have going on this week, whilst that goes into the oven and starts cooking, now I really like cheese and potato pie, but you know what? There's a guy called Gavin who's in my ear on this microphone. He and he really doesn't like it. Anyway, I think it's delicious. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it comes out. The other things that we have going on this week, we have an activity coming up where you can make and do something. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to keep that as a nice surprise. We also have some songs coming up. We have the story. I'm really looking forward to the story. That's always really good. I'm going to do a little bit of thinking time after the story. We got some prayers, and we've got all sorts of other people who are going to be involved as the Messy Church goes on this afternoon. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to have a song. The song is called Ask, Seek and Knock, and it's coming up right now.
I'm reading my B-I-B-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how Jesus came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt, the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, oh. I'm reading my B-I-B-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how Jesus came down to us and gave his best. Without a doubt, the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, whoa. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Oh, you opens up the door. You opens up the door. Oh.
That's a really good song. I do like that one. And I really love the fact that it talks all about, in the song, all about reading the Bible. And that's what we're going to have in just a moment. Sally's going to bring to us our Bible story. Now, I don't know if you can remember where we got to in the story last time. I think Sally's going to join me on the screen in just a moment. There she is. I keep forgetting which way I need to pretend to face to make it look like I'm looking at you.
Shall I go that way?
It's that way. There you go. It looks like we're talking to each other now. but-
I'm just going to look at the camera, Mark. Because
Yeah, it's much easier.
I have a little companion with me today.
Amazing. Is he going to
My-
help you with reading?
I don't know. My daughter came down with her 3 children, so 3 of my grandchildren have been here. 2 of them are actually in another room, listening and looking on another laptop. But Benny is keeping me company.
He wants to come and do it live. Yeah,
And
there he is.
told he has to sit very still and not make any silly faces.
Yeah, you've got to sit still because if you wobble, then everything over here wobbles and I might fall off the scaffolding. Maybe. So, Sally, have you been having a fun week?
The children have been having a lot of fun in my house, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I think I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Brilliant. Right. So let's just remind ourselves where we'd got to with the story. So does Benny know what the story is? Does he know where we've got to with it?
No.
He doesn't. Ah, right. Okay. Listen carefully, and I'll tell you. I'll tell you all where we've got to in the story so far. It's a story all about a guy called Joseph. Now, Joseph has a whole load of brothers who got so fed up with him, they sold him. And they sold him. He ended up being a slave, and he worked in this other man's house. And he was so good at what he did, and God looked after him, that he ended up being in charge of the house. But then the man's wife tried to betray him, so he got thrown into prison for something he hadn't even done. And last week, we heard about him being in prison with a cupbearer and a baker who used to work for the king. And they ended up with these amazing dreams that God gave Joseph the ability to translate. So he was able to tell the two people exactly what their dreams meant. And the cupbearer ended up going working back for the king. And that is sort of where we left it, with Joseph still in prison and the cupbearer, not cup baker, you can't bake a cup. The cupbearer is working for the king again. The baker, not so much. And that's where we've got to in the story, is it not?
Yes, it is. And I am here trying to control my grandchildren at the same time as read the story, Mark. So,
Amazing.
because my daughter is not here at the moment. So, all right, everybody, are you ready? So, at the end, as Mark has explained to us, at the end of last week's story, Joseph was left wondering what would happen to him because the cupbearer, who had been in prison with Joseph, forgot all about talking to Pharaoh about him after he'd got his old job back, as Mark has just told you. So, another 2 years passed, and then one night, Pharaoh had a strange dream. In his dream, he was standing by the River Nile when 7 very strong and healthy cows came up out of the river and began grazing. Then 7 more cows came out of the river, but these were all very skinny. And those skinny cows ate the 7 healthy cows. And then Pharaoh woke up. But he went back to sleep and he had another dream. And this time, 7 lush, healthy ears of grain grew out of a single stalk. And then 7 more ears grew up, but these were thin and dry and shriveled. And then these dry grains swallowed up the healthy ones. In the morning, he wanted to know what these dreams meant. So he sent for all the wise men of Egypt and told them his dreams, but none of them could tell him what the dreams meant. It was then that the head cupbearer spoke up and said to Pharaoh, "I have just remembered something. I'm sorry. I should have told you this long ago. 2 years ago, when I and the head baker had made you angry and you'd put us in prison, we both had dreams on the same night. There was a young Hebrew slave there with us. We told him our dreams and he interpreted them for each of us, and things turned out just as he said they would." Pharaoh straight away sent for Joseph, and they brought him from the prison immediately. Pharaoh told Joseph, "Nobody can tell me the meaning of my dream, but I've heard that you can interpret dreams." Joseph answered, "Well, it's not I who can, but God." Pharaoh told Joseph his dream, how the 7 healthy cows and 7 skinny cows came out of the River Nile, and that the skinny ones had eaten the healthy ones. But when they had eaten the 7 healthy cows, they still looked skinny and ugly. Then Pharaoh told Joseph about the 7 ears of healthy grain and the 7 dry, shriveled ears of grain that swallowed up the healthy ones. After listening to Pharaoh, Joseph said to him, "Both of your dreams mean the same thing. God is telling you what he is going to do. The 7 healthy cows are 7 years, and the 7 healthy ears of grain are 7 years. They are the same 7 years. The 7 sick and ugly cows are another 7 years, and the 7 scrawny ears of grain are the same 7 years. God is preparing Pharaoh for what is going to happen. There will be 7 years of plenty throughout Egypt, but then there will be 7 years of famine, leaving no trace of the Egyptian plenty. As the country endures a famine, there won't be even a scrap left of the previous plenty. The famine will be total. God is warning you that this is going to happen very soon. Excuse me just a moment. Shut the door, please. I'm so sorry about that. Where was I? Right, yes. As the country endures a famine, there won't be even a scrap left of the previous plenty. The famine will be total. God is warning you that this is going to happen very soon. So, you need a wise, experienced man to be put in charge of the country. And Pharaoh, you need managers throughout the land of Egypt to organize it during the years of plenty. They will need to collect all the food produced in the good years and stockpile the grain, storing it in the towns for the 7 years of famine that are coming to Egypt. This way, the country won't be devastated by the famine. We've got a bit more of the story to go. It's a long story, I told you, didn't I? So, Pharaoh was very pleased with this idea of how to manage what was going to happen and said to his officials, "Isn't this the man we need? Are we going to find anyone else who has God's spirit in him like this?" Pharaoh said to Joseph, "You're the man for us. God has told you what is going to happen. No one is as qualified as you. From now, you are in charge of my affairs. All my people will report to you. I'm putting you in charge of the entire country of Egypt." Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his finger and slipped it on Joseph's hand. He gave him robes of the best linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He put the second in command chariot at his disposal, and as he rode, people all cheered him on. Joseph was in charge of the entire country of Egypt. Pharaoh told him, "I am Pharaoh, but no one in Egypt will make a single move without your stamp of approval. And the only person you are answerable to is me." During the 7 years of plenty, the land produced bumper crops. Joseph had the food gathered and stored in cities. In each city, he stockpiled surplus from the surrounding fields. Joseph collected so much surplus grain that he finally stopped keeping track of it all. Egypt's 7 good years came to an end, and the 7 years of famine arrived, just as Joseph had said. All the countries surrounding Egypt also experienced famine. Egypt was the only country that had bread. When the famine spread throughout Egypt, the people called out in distress to Pharaoh, calling for bread. He told them, "Go to Joseph, do what he tells you." As the famine got worse all over the country, Joseph opened the storehouses and sold emergency supplies to the Egyptians. And because the famine was bad in all the other countries around Egypt, soon the whole world was coming to buy supplies from Joseph in Egypt, which led to an amazing and unexpected encounter. But we will have to wait until next week to find out what that was. Well, Mark, I'm sorry about a couple of the interruptions there along the way.
It just makes it a little bit more real, doesn't it? To have people involved, whether they're supposed to be or not. That's a really long story, but thank you for reading it for
It
us.
was. They just wanted to get in on the act there, I think, some of them. Yes, it was
Well,
much longer, but we've got a really exciting next episode next week. Really
I
exciting.
know. Now, I must admit, I already know what the next bit of the story is going to be, but it is really exciting. So if you don't know, you could take a sneak peek at the Bible and have a look and find it. Whereabouts are we up to in the Bible in this bit? Is it Genesis
41.
41, is it? Yeah, there we go. Genesis chapter 41. So if you want to have a sneak peek and see what comes next, or
Well,
you can wait
that
till
was
next
in
week.
41. So I think what they'll have to move to chapter 42 to find out.
Right, okay.
They can just wait in
They
suspense
could just wait.
for the next.
You know what? Just wait and Sally, is it you next week doing the story?
I'm not sure.
Well, whoever it is, it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
thank you ever so much.
All right. Bye bye for now.
Bye. So here we have our young presenter, Bronte. How are you?
I'm good.
Brilliant. So you've just listened to that story as well. I'm going to ask you a few questions. What do you think it must have been like for Joseph to know that he'd been forgotten when he was still stuck in prison?
I'm really sad because he said he'd remember me and tell me to the Pharaoh, but he didn't. So I'd just be stuck in there all alone with no one.
I know, he was stuck in there. He'd have been quite sad and lonely. And he was in there for another 2 years. It wasn't like he was just forgotten for a week or two, was it? He was in there for ages. I'd have been quite sad and lonely. So how do you think the cupbearer must have felt when he suddenly realised 2 years later that he'd forgotten all about Joseph for so long?
He must have felt ashamed and annoyed, I'd say, because annoyed that he'd forgotten about him and annoyed at himself because of that, and ashamed because he'd forgotten about him and he was the one who told him about his dream that he had.
You're right. It was only when Pharaoh had dreams that he needed to know what they meant. It was only then that he remembered about Joseph. I think he'd have been quite embarrassed. Do you think it would have gone quite red?
Yeah, I would have.
I think he would have. I think he'd have been proper embarrassed. Go, oh my goodness! I've just remembered. There's this guy. I was supposed to say something. So, what sort of thoughts do you think? There's Joseph sitting in prison. When suddenly the guards come and get him and bring him to Pharaoh, how do you think Joseph would have been feeling then?
Excited and a bit weird because I'd be like, what's happening or what? And excited because am I get excited like as in if something good was gonna happen to him, but if something bad was gonna happen to him, I just stand still and don't say anything.
I think excited is a good word, but I also think a little bit worried, probably. Oh my goodness, why is the king asked for me suddenly? Is it going to be like the cupbearer for me, or is it going to be like the baker? And if you can't remember, you'll have to go back and watch last week's to see what happened to the two of them. So after Joseph told Pharaoh what all those dreams meant, because they were quite strange dreams, weren't they? Cows eating cows and wheat eating wheat. But after those stories, after Joseph was able to translate those stories because God gave him what they meant, after that, what were the first thing that happened, do you think? What was the first sort of thing that happened to Joseph after that? Can you remember what Pharaoh did?
Yeah, he made him second to be Pharaoh.
Second in command, didn't he? Sort of second in charge of the whole country. Like, what on earth would have been going through Joseph's mind then? How would you feel if someone suddenly said, oh, right, okay, we've got a little job for you, Bronte. We need you to be second in charge of the Queen.
I'd be really excited and really happy and a bit scared because I wouldn't know what's going on.
Well, you know what? I think I'd be, oh my goodness, what an honour. And oh my goodness, I'm terrified. I don't know what to do. Pharaoh obviously thought that Joseph would know what to do, didn't he? So he put him in charge of all the stuff that was going to be needed doing. And they were going to need to do it for, what's that, 7 + 7, 14 years of work that Joseph was going to have to put in, wasn't it? That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But Joseph, he didn't seem to dwell on his own problems, did he? I mean, he'd just come out of prison, but he didn't come out. You don't hear him going, oh, I'm really whinging. I'm second in command, and that cupbearer forgot about me. Throw him into prison. He didn't do anything like that, did he?
No, I didn't do that because he forgot about me for 2 years, but then he remembered me. So at least he remembered me.
You're right. At least he did remember him in the end. You know what? I think Joseph just forgave him. I think he went, this is obviously God's plan, whatever that plan is, and I'm going to forgive you for forgetting all about me for 2 years, because now I'm in the place that God wants me to be, and I can look after all these people in this whole country because God's told me what's going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you so much, Bronte, for your help. Thank you. You're going to come back and do the prayers with us a little bit later, aren't you?
Yep.
Which will be really good. Really looking forward to that. So thank you, Bronte. We shall see you a little bit later on.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So I think it's probably about time to find out how this cheese and potato pie is getting on, because I'm starting to feel quite hungry, and I can't get to any food from up here at all. I'm just stuck up in the air. Let's see if Catherine's there. There she is. She's come running back. Suddenly she's just found out. Hi, Catherine. So how are things going in the kitchen? Am I back a bit early?
No, they're all going well. What I was thinking was we'll see if we can get the camera to show you how our potato pie is coming on, and we might be able to zoom across to Vi as well and see her. So if you just follow me with the camera.
Okay, I'm following you like this.
You need to I've just got to direct my cameraman. This is a whole new phase.
You can get this.
She's
far.
very clever. It's not at all wobbly. I can see in there. Oh. Hi, Vi. How's your cooking going? Oh, I can't hear Vi. Vi, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. There you are. How's your
It's-
cooking going?
It's looking good. I really want to eat it now, even though it's not done.
It's not done yet, is it?
No, it's still in the
Still
oven.
in. Oh, here we go. Have we got two moving cameras now? Are you going to take yours over there? Oh, look at that.
You can't really see it very well, but
No, I think I can see a reflection of you, actually. Oh, look at that. There we go. Quick, shut the door again. Quick, shut the door. That looks amazing. Look at that. Two cheese and potato pies on the go. We can see Catherine's as well. Look at that. I think there's an earthquake over at Catherine's house, so she needs to be careful. Everything's shaking quite a lot. Do you like? Those are really good, and I am feeling really quite hungry now. So you know what? I hope they come out as well as they look. So, are you excited about whatever's coming next? You two?
yes, definitely.
Oh, Catherine's gone quiet now. Catherine, we can't hear you. Oh, this is all very confusing, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Tell you what, Catherine, we'll come back to you in a bit. We'll give you a moment and we'll give you time to keep going with your cooking. And Violet, we'll come back to you in a bit. Go and have fun with your cooking. There they go. Off they go to do some more cooking. Now, we have an activity to do that's going to be really good. So what I'd like you to do is, there we go. There's Tasha. She's going to show us. Well, I'll let her explain.
Good afternoon, Messy Church. It's lovely to be back with you again at the bottom of my garden. You might notice that some of the wildflowers have sprung up around us in the last few weeks after all that rain, and we're loving watching all the different invertebrates and butterflies and bees that are enjoying the wildflowers. It's heavenly. I wonder if you've been spotting the wildflowers on your walks. Now this week we are thinking about all the wonderful dreams that the Pharaoh had and how Joseph helped him to interpret them. So I thought we could have a go at making our very own dream catcher. These are traditional crafts that are used to capture the bad spirits, the bad dreams that might come near you at night, and only let the good ones through. So I thought that would be really good. So what you need to find yourself a flexible stick. So not one that's rigid, you've got to be able to bend it. It could be willow or hazel, this is Leylandii. You'll just have to have fun on your walks to find one that you can bend into a circle. Now I've kept some of the leaves on and I've chopped some of the others. I think I'm going to cut a few of these off though, and maybe keep one. I quite like reminding myself what the tree was, and it has rather a wonderful smell. So you tie it up and you make a circle, and then you're just going to tie the two ends together. You could use pipe cleaners or string or wire, whatever you've got. Tie it up very tight. And then you've got your circle, you've got your shape. That's not worked. There we go, okay? Then you want to go and find as many different coloured string and wool as you can. It really doesn't matter, it can be twine, it can be absolutely anything. I like to use wool, all the different colours. And you're going to wrap it round your circle. So it's going to tie it on. If you've got knobs and bobbles on your sticks, it can be quite useful for winding them round. They catch rather well. But you just tie a knot and then you wind it round twice in each place so you get it nice and firm. Then go across your circle, as I say, using any lumps and bumps to help your string grip as you do it. Doesn't really matter how long the string is, but just keep going. You want to just go backwards and forwards, and then you tie it off tightly at the end. And then you're going to repeat doing this with a few other colours. You could have all the same colour, you could have all different colours. It's absolutely up to you. I wonder what you thought about the different dreams that the Pharaoh had. Can you remember the different ones he had? About the cattle and about the sheaves of corn. Joseph was very clever to be interpreting them, wasn't he? He was lucky that he had God to give him the wisdom. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do one more colour of wool. I'm trying to sort of fill the gaps. You want it to be woven as tight as possible. So I'm just thinking, where's a gap? Okay, we've got a gap down here. Can you hear the birds? When you're doing this, you can just sit and do your 6-second senses. I wonder what you can hear. I wonder what you can see. I wonder what you can smell. I wonder what you can touch. Right, seeing if I filled in most of my gaps. There's no right or wrong way to doing this. Whatever you do will be fine. Okay. Oh, one thing you need to do, you need to put a loop at the top. Forgot about that. Let's make a little loop. This is so you can hang it. Okay, so I've got one more bit. I'm going to go down there, round, just looking for those gaps, because the more tightly you weave it, the easier it's going to be to fill it with things. If there are lots of gaps, they might fall out. You don't want any of those dreams, those bad dreams going through. Okay. So, we've now woven our dream catcher. Now we're going to fill it with things. So I want you to go for a walk outside and see what things you can find. Maybe you can find some different coloured or different shaped leaves, and you're just going to weave them in. Weave them in, over and under. Big ones and little ones, different colours. I've got some cherry and some maple going on here. If you haven't got time to go outside, or it's difficult to get outside, you might want to just use strips of material. Just weave them in over. Can you see how I'm going over and under, over and under. Oh, it's starting to rain. Never mind, we don't mind. Right. Different colours.
Now, another thing that you find that you particularly like as well, you might find some flowers. Remember to ask the person who they belong to. And if you're picking wildflowers, only pick one or the most two, because the birds need them more. We could keep filling it until all the spaces are filled. Right. I want you to keep filling it. And then what you can also do is hang some things underneath. So we've got one here. I made 4. And can you see, I then tied on little things here, making it pretty. And you can change it as they die and move on. Anyway, have fun making your dream catcher. See you soon. Bye.
Well, thanks, Tasha. That was really good, wasn't it? Wasn't that pretty? I hope you're all going to have a try at doing those sorts of things at home. It looks like something that most people should be able to manage. You could use all sorts of things you find in the garden, things you find out maybe when you go for a walk. You could put those in there, couldn't you? And I bet there's all sorts of things you've got at home that you could use to decorate one of those as well. So that's really good. I might even try it myself. You never know, maybe next week I'll bring it along and go, look, this is my one. This is what I did. So that was lovely. Thank you again, Tasha, for doing that for us and for showing us how to make one of those. And you know what else you can do with dreams? You can write them down. Sometimes God does give us dreams, and God does give us the way to find out what those dreams mean. Just sometimes. It's a bit like Joseph. So maybe it's a good idea to write them down. And even if it's not a special dream from God, sometimes it's hilarious to read them back years later and see what on earth you were dreaming about. Now, we have another video coming up in a minute. We have a song, and this song is called God's People Aren't Super Brave. God's people aren't super strong. Okay, here it comes now.
People who are richer than me, there are people who are taller than me, there are people who are, I don't know, it just doesn't seem that God would have a spot for me, because I'm not really brave, I'm not a hero, I don't do things like that. My favourite sport is napping, as you might be able to tell from my jumper. But then I got to thinking, I'm sure I know a song about this. So I thought that it'd be quite nice to share it with you, because that's something I can do. I can share this with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the actions, and then we'll try to some music. Okay, so God's, so that you might be able to see, this is the sign language for God. So God's people aren't super brave, superheroes. They don't have muscles. Point to your muscles from their heads to their, oh, you can't see my toes, but just to prove they're there, give them, you go toes. They're not gladiators, that's easy to see. In fact, it's amazing. They're just like you and me. Okay, so that's the first verse.
Well, I'm super brave, superheroes. They don't have muscles from their heads to their toes. They're not gladiators, that's easy to see. In fact, it's amazing. They are just like you and me. Sometimes scared, sometimes scared. Shaking and shivering. But let's realize we got God on our side, and He can do absolutely anything. And again, God's people aren't super brave superheroes. They don't have muscles from their heads to their toes. They're not gladiators at sea to the sea. In fact, it's amazing. They are just like you and me. People aren't super brave superheroes. They don't have muscles from their heads to their toes. They're not gladiators at sea to the sea. In fact, it's it's amazing. They are just like you and me. Sometimes scared, shaking and shivering, but let's realize we got God on our side, and He can absolutely anything. Maybe last time lots of people crazy world. They don't have much fun. They hate just like
Well, thank you so much to Charlie there for getting that done. Thank you so much to Charlie for that. That was amazing, wasn't it? I was trying to do the actions up here, but I was a little bit worried that it was all just a little bit wobbly, so I stopped. So I hope you do lots and lots of actions at home, though, because especially the superhero one, that looked really good. So just going to have a little chat now about the story that we heard earlier on. See, the story was all about Joseph and Joseph getting out of prison and interpreting those dreams because God had told him what the dreams meant and all the good things that happened. Now, we all have times, don't we, where we wish that we had something more. More things, more food, more time. We also have times when we have something that somebody else might want too. Have you ever seen a couple of like 2 or 3 year olds trying very hard to understand what sharing means when they both want the same toy? It's mine, you've had your go, it's my turn now. Well, sharing is sometimes an easy thing to do, and sometimes it's a really hard thing to do. You see, I love wine gums, and I find it very hard to share them because, well, I want them all. Now, in today's story, we hear about Joseph still being in prison. He was probably feeling really quite fed up at this point. He'd been there for another 2 years, all because the cupbearer just forgot to mention that Joseph was innocent and still in prison. So when the cupbearer eventually remembers Joseph, it must have come as quite a relief. And what happens? Well, Joseph is able to show that God is still with him, and that even through all of that rubbish, God still loves him. And he's able to share that love too. You see, God has given Pharaoh, the king in a strange land, a blessing. He has shown him how to avert the coming disaster and put the right man there with him to sort it out. Pharaoh didn't ask to be blessed. He didn't know that a famine was coming. But God is gracious and he is kind and he loves each one of us, so that even included the king of Egypt and all his people. God is much better at sharing than we are. He shares with all of us. He is generous, and that's how we are supposed to be too. In the story of Joseph, he stores up all the surplus food in Egypt during the good 7 years, so that there will be enough to feed everyone when the 7-year drought comes. He is prepared because he's listened to what God was saying to him. And we need to be careful with what we have. In the Bible, it says that we should be good stewards of what God has given us. That means we need to look after the things that God has given us. See, Joseph was looking after the things that God had given him, and he was looking after the things that God had given to Egypt. And we should be looking after the things that God gives us so that they're ready when we or someone else needs them. It says in the Bible that we should do good, be rich in good deeds, generous givers, and we should share with others. That's not always easy to do, but that's what we're supposed to do. God tells us that we're supposed to be generous, just like him. We're supposed to love people that we don't even know, like Joseph loving all the Egyptians. Possibly we've got to love people that we don't like very much. I bet Joseph felt that too, because I bet whilst he was in prison, he didn't feel like being best friends with the cupbearer who'd forgotten him. But when he gets out, it's because of the cupbearer. And they will have had to see each other a lot over the following years because they were both working for Pharaoh. There was the cupbearer who would have been at Pharaoh's side most of the time, and suddenly Joseph is his right-hand man. So he would have been there too. So Joseph would have needed to be generous with his forgiveness too. Not like a 2-year-old shouting, "You've had your go, it's my turn now." There are all sorts of ways that we can be generous. It can be something as simple as sharing the things we have with other people, or something like giving some time to help someone else. So I'm going to leave you with this. This week, we should all be looking out for ways to be careful with what God has given us and to be generous with it too, just like God is to us. Now, Bronte's going to come back and join me in just a moment because she's going to lead us in our prayers. Aren't you, Bronte? Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So, Bronte, are you going to lead us in our prayers this afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Dear Lord, we know that lockdown is hard, but we need you now more than ever. Please help us to get through this hard time. Please help us to not forget those who are in need. They include people that need food and shelter, as well as people who are living on their own and are not able to get out and do things for themselves. We thank for all the helpers that have come forward during lockdown to help our local community. Please keep them safe as they continue to work as they do. Please also help us to not be addicted to our screens all of the time and help us think of things to do when we are bored at home. As we approach this weekend, we will start to see some sort of new normality. We are now able to see friends and family at a distance. Lord, help us to obey the rules which are set out so we can all stay safe in the time ahead. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thine kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Bronte, for helping us this afternoon. That was beautiful. Those are really lovely prayers. Thank you so much. Now, we also have coming up, in a bit, we're going to find out just how that cooking has turned out, and I'm very excited to see how it's turned out. I'm just getting more and more hungry just standing here. If you've done any of the things that we've been up to today, if you've done some cooking, if you've had a go at making a dream catcher, even if you've just been drawing pictures of the story of Joseph, if you've been doing anything like that, take a photo of it, send it in to us. We'd love to see what you've been up to. We'd love to see how you've been getting on, particularly with the cooking. I'd love to see everyone's cooking, just cooking. I just love food. So we're going to have a final song now. Now, our final song is called God is Real. There we go. There's the email address at the bottom, just there. That's what they do on telly, isn't it? They point like this, like it's a real thing. There's the email address. Send it in to us if you've got a picture. That'd be lovely. We're going to have our last song, God is Real. It's coming up right now. This is a really good one. So get ready to dance around your living rooms to this.
We believe that God is real. We believe that God is good. believe that God made us. We believe that God is real. We believe that God is good. We believe the Bible's words. We believe that God made us. Let the world see Him. Let the world hear Him. Let the world know Him. Let the world know that God is real. God is real. God is real. God is real. Let the world see that. Let the world see Him. We believe God sent His Son. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe He died for us. We believe He rose to life. We believe that God is here. We invite His Spirit in. We believe that God can heal. We believe that God forgives. Let the world see Him. Let the world hear Him. Let the world know that to know Him more. God is real. God is real. God is real. God is real. Let the world see Him. Let the world hear Him. Let the world know Him. Let the world know. That God is good. And we believe that God is real. We believe God is good.
See, I told you it was a good one. I hope you were dancing around your living rooms or your kitchens. Actually, maybe not your kitchens, and not if you're cooking the potato and cheese. That wouldn't be good, would it? Dancing around that would be dangerous. But yeah, dancing around your living rooms, just having lots of fun to that song as well. So we're going to head back over to Catherine and Violet's kitchens because I really want. Oh my goodness, look at that! Whose is that one?
That is our here.
Oh, it's Catherine's. There's Catherine's cheese and potato pie. That looks amazing.
It's all packed up beautifully with the eggs inside it. It's got a lovely golden sort of crunchy topping on it. So that's our tea sorted for this evening.
That looks so delicious. We haven't actually got Vi at the moment. I think we've got a little bit of problem with her internet. But look at that.
Well, we saw Violet a few minutes ago, didn't we? You know, when it's still in the oven and it looked.
Oh, here she is.
So, Violet, the moment of truth. Let's have a look at your cheese and potato pie. Wow. That looks delicious.
That looks so good. Right, whose house am I coming round to have tea? Got you worried now, haven't I? I think I might actually turn up.
Yeah, sherry pails is full of cheese and potato pie.
Those both look delicious. And like Catherine said right at the beginning, this is sort of a thrifty tea, one that doesn't necessarily have to cost very much because we're being careful with the things that God has given us. But you can still bless people with that pie. Look at that. That looks amazing. Gav, I know you can't speak out loud, but I really hope that you've seen those pictures and decided that you now do like cheese and potato pie, because those look amazing. They do look really nice. So if you've made this at home, oh, there you go. That's Gav putting a message on the screen. I still don't like cheese and potato pie. It's not you, it's me. You're right. It's definitely you. It's definitely you, Gav, because that looked delicious. I think that looks like amazing tea. Well done, both of you. Well done, particularly Divide. Did Ernest help a lot? I can't hear you.
He
Try
helped
that.
with eating the cheese.
He's been eating the cheese.
Yeah, he did do a bit of helping. He mashed. He really enjoys cooking though, so it's nice.
And did you enjoy cooking it?
Yes.
And are you going to enjoy eating it?
Yes.
It looks amazing. I'm really quite jealous. Now I've got to go home and do that myself, I think. I'm just going to have to do it. I'll have to come back on here, find us on YouTube, watch how you did it, and then I'll make it for my tea as well. That'd be a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
Right, now we have, since we've got food to eat, I think what we need to do is the Messy Grace, don't we? I think that'd be really good. Now, are we going to try and all do this together? Can you remember the actions, everyone? There's Bronte as well. Can everyone remember the actions? So, should we run through it once, or do you reckon you all know it? You all know it, don't you?
Yeah.
You're gonna know it? Right, are you ready? So, may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit, it even looks like we're holding hands, just about. There we go, there. Be with us now and forever. Amen. Brilliant. Well done, everyone. That's really good. I have really enjoyed this afternoon. I hope you have too. Catherine, have you got lots planned for this week, or are you just going to get ready for next Mini Messy?
Well, I think there's fairly a number of things going on, bits and things to do in the garden, and think about what our recipe is going to be the next Mini Messy. We've only got 2 weeks left before we break for the summer, so we need a couple of really cracking recipes for our term.
So 2 weeks to go, and in one of those 2 weeks, I've got to try and do the cooking in my camper van at the same time. That's going to be fun. We've said it now, so it's got to be done, hasn't it? Yeah, so you show me what to do, and I'll cook from the van. And so that's it from this Messy Church. I hope you've really enjoyed yourself. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Come back next week. Don't forget to send us your pictures. There's a message going across the bottom about subscribing to the page. You can watch it on YouTube. If you can find our email address, which is minimessychurch@shifnalbenefice.co.uk, I think. Send us your pictures or your videos of the things that you have been up to this week. We'd love to see them, and we shall see you all again next week. Goodbye.